somewhere.
Okay.
A life that would have, I believe that is where everything started. Because I went on with my work, everything went on smoothly, and all this time, I could even count the several times that I had taken alcohol. And to me, alcohol was not a problem.
Yeah.
But if I can take you back so that you connect this story, in class 7, that's when I tasted alcohol for real.
The first time.
And
so welcome to the show. We really love the fact that umeweza kufika leo. So you can begin by utuambie majina yako. How has it been for you?
Thank you so much, Mercy. My name is Francis Waiguru Kamau, and I come from Mugoiri, a place in Kiharu, a village called Mugoiri. That's where I was born, and I'm a last born in a family of 8. That is 8 sisters and 3 brothers. My life basically at those early days, my life was good. I can't really say that I was brought up in a challenging life because my parents used to do all that they could for us to have a nice life, and that is something that I appreciate each and every day. So basically I went to school. That was way back in 1991. That's when I joined class 1. And life in school was good. Nakumbuka hizo wakati shule ilikuwa tu ile tu mambo ya kitambo, nakumbuka vizuri sana. So life in school was good. I was a good student. I went all the way up to class 8. I passed well. And I was to join a high school by the name of Kiagodho.
Still in the village?
Yes, still in the village. But at that time, I had this thing, since I was the last born. And, okay, kind of all the way from the first born up to the second last born, wote wameachana na miaka 2.
Okay.
But when it comes to from the second last to me, ameniacha na miaka 6.
Wow.
So you can imagine while growing up, there was some kind of a gap between me and them. And there was a very short time that I could get to spend time with them. Because the only time that I could get to spend time with them was when the schools are closed. And you can also agree with me that majority of them, most of them actually, had already finished their studies and they had already gone their ways. So the only closest person that I would say that was a bit closer was the second last person, who is my brother.
Okay.
I think the fact that I spent a lot of time with my parents, I think it contributed to the fact that I never wanted to go to a boarding school.
Okay.
So yes. So I talked with my parents and they agreed to take me to a day school. Because back then I really believed that it is not the school that matters. But as much as I love my studies, I knew that I could do better.
Okay.
So eventually they agreed, and I joined a high school, Naito Mugoiri Boys Secondary School, and I studied for 4 years. I did well, and immediately after high school, that's when I went to Nairobi. At least before the exams came, the results came out, I went to stay with my sisters. So that, okay, just waiting for the exams to results to come out. And by then, that's when I would decide what to do. You know, those days were not like today that you get that a child knows what he wants to become. All the way at
hizo enzi ni kubahatisha.
Hizo enzi ilikuwa kubahatisha, but at the back of my mind there were those things that I loved doing.
Okay.
One, I really loved acting. And I really loved acting, and I felt that if I would get away to go to the Kenya National Theatre, I really loved doing that. But I had to start from somewhere. So that's when I went to Nairobi. I started staying with my sister, one of my sisters. Her name is Veronica. But before that, I had gone to our firstborn. Her name is Rose, although right now she's late.
Okay.
So I started staying there. The exams came out. I did well. Then came 2003, around April. So as I was staying with my sister, I had noted that her health was not okay. But normally I couldn't question. And one, there was lots and lots of respect, because if you imagine even the age gap,
hata hiyo kuinteract,
that interaction can't be like 100% complete. So I never questioned, but of course I could see what is happening. So I was very supportive. Of course, you have to be supportive when such things happen, but things got worse. And by around 23rd April, she passed on. And okay, things got hard, because that was hard for all of us. But God is good, because He saw us through that period. Then eventually I had to now change some situations, because now my sister is gone, and you can agree with me, staying in that home wouldn't be like
easy on you.
Yes. So I went to live with my other sister. Her name is Veronica. But then I had to choose from the 5 of them. They are very supportive. I would have gone to any one of them, but circumstances allowed me to go and live with my sister Veronica, and she did one thing that I will forever remember, because she's the one who paid for my fee in college. She took me to college and paid for everything. So I went and did beauty therapy. I have a diploma in beauty. Yes, and life started taking shape. And basically I started feeling that I know what I'm going to do with my life. And I did well. And immediately after college, I started working. And during that period, college, I used to go at the Kenya National Theatre, and I started doing some set books. I also involved myself in various plays. So let me say life was good, because at last my dreams were coming true.
You are doing what you love. You already have a career. Something you are doing.
Then on the other hand, my sisters are very supportive. And most of them, we used to sit down, talk a lot, and they actually influenced my life. They actually influenced what I wanted to do, because they used to love issues and things to do with beauty. So most of them had beauty shops. So you can imagine I used to help here and there once in a while, whenever I'm free. So you can imagine that is one of the things that influenced me to do a course in beauty, which of course was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. And life went on, and I started working. But at that time, I was still staying with my sister. But you can also agree with me that there is what everyone wishes, and there is the reality on the ground. So after college, it proved a bit hard to get a nice job.
Okay.
But eventually, I got one, but I never got it in town. The place where I got that job, I had to like relocate from my sister's place so that nikaribie kwenye nafanya kazi, because it was a bit far, because I went to Rongai. And that time we were living at Dagoretti.
Okay.
So I had to relocate and I went to Rongai. And I started living by myself now. That was way back in 2005. Around the beginning of 2005. And at the same time I was working in Rongai. So life went on, and I was so encouraged by my sisters and my brothers. And also the fact that I'm the last born. So I had like so many people to look up to.
Yeah.
And I could always see what they are doing with their lives. And that made me work hard to an extent that deep inside, as I was working, I still felt this urge. Okay, I couldn't explain what, but I always felt this urge that there's something else I should do with this talent that I have. I felt that just doing set books was not enough. I felt like I could do something else, but I didn't know what. So in the process, there's something else that I felt that I really, really loved. I really loved listening to people, their issues. And wherever I would go, I'll maybe talk to someone, maybe listen to someone, just socializing with people. I always found that people used to tell me that there's something new. There's a way you've explained this issue, and I understand it so well. Okay, I didn't know what to put all that. I didn't know what that was. But eventually, I got interested in issues to do with HIV.
Okay.
So the little that I was earning, I took myself to college part-time.
Okay.
With my earnings. And in the process, I came across a few friends. Somehow in college, I was doing counseling. But basic counseling. So, okay, the friends that I came across, we used to in the evening, we used to meet after work. As a matter of fact, we used to meet at one of the friends' job. He used to have a cyber cafe. So in the evening, he would close the doors after work, and we would sit down. We were around 9 guys. We would sit around, tunachapa a story just before we go home. And that's how we came to realize that we have one thing in common. Actually, two. One, majority of those guys were educated.
Okay.
And we were just hustlers wa kawaida. Then the other thing that came up was the fact that these guys loved acting. And that's how we came up with an idea of forming a group. We really thought of coming up together, we form a group, and maybe we would do some acting, practice on some skits here, plays, short plays, and for us to get something out of that, we had to come up with the main theme, what we'll be concentrating on, where will we be taking our plays and all that. And that's how we came up with an idea of going to schools.
Okay.
And that's how also we came up with an idea that we should do something to do with the HIV. Actually, that's how my interest in HIV came up. So, okay, basically we started thinking on how to form this group, and along the way, in my line of work, things were changing. I was feeling that I wasn't comfortable with where I was working. And sometimes maybe I would take time and go visit home and stay for a few days. Of course, I have friends back at home. And mind you, maybe just I take you back a bit. When I was being brought up by my parents, they are staunch Catholics.
Okay.
So I was brought up in church. I can't say that there's nothing. My parents did everything to make sure that I know everything about God. I actually joined. I became an altar boy when I got to class 4, up to around 1 year after Form 4. So you can see the seriousness that was there. So back in the village, when I could always go and visit, of course, I would pick from where I left. I had joined the youth group, the church youth group, and all that. There were other functions that we used to participate in. And as a matter of fact, I remember there was one group that I was involved with, and it was led by some missionary sisters who were still in Mugoiri. They are called Don sisters. And one of the things that I really loved, I felt that I really felt the urge of becoming a priest, but that had changed once I finished Form 4.
I think you part priest, you felt it because of being an altar boy all this time.
Yes, all this time. So when I could always go back to the village, I used to pick up from where I left. And there was this one guy that I had come to know, and he came from alikuwa ametoka Mwea's Gurubani town.
Okay.
So at that period now, when we come to the story, at that period now, I felt that I need to change my workplace, niende place ingine, but I didn't know where because so far sikuwa nimepata. But something came up. This guy from where called me. And as we talked, we happened to agree that I will visit Mwea for just 2 days. Then I go back. And that's what I did. I went to Mwea, visited this guy. His name is Paul Damberi. And I stayed there. I ended up staying there for a week. And somehow I loved the place. And one day during that week, when he was he took me for maybe a tour around town.
On a stroll too.
Yes, I noticed a beauty school, and I just happened to go there, just see how things are, and I noticed that they have an advert there. They have a vacancy that they are advertising, and because I didn't have my papers, I just left my contact. And that was that. After that 1 week, I went back and promised to visit later. So I continued with my work at Rongai. Now, during that time, one of the things that made me feel that I should get out of Rongai at that time, crime was on a very high level. And I used to go home late at night, and I could always travel some distance. And around that time, it wasn't a big deal. Like ilikuwa kawaida kusikia mlio ya bunduki like every single night. Ama kusikia mtu amegongwa risasi hapo, ama kwa fulani kumeibiwa. So and at that time kwanza ile ili accelerate me nitoke huko. There was a time nilipatana nao when I was going home. They took everything that I had. Luckily I was never injured. Kind of, I don't know how, but ni kama unajua walinipora wakachukua mpaka funguo, shopping nilikuwa nayo, pesa. It's kind of venye tu nilinyenyekea juu sasa I didn't have anything else to do. Mmoja akanihurumia, kaniita, kanirudishia funguo. I actually don't want to remember that because it was horror. So somehow I never wanted to stay at that place. And that's how I decided to try to look maybe for a way of getting another place. So after some few weeks, I got a call from where?
The place that you had mentioned about the job.
Yes. And they just told me to report the following day. Now, okay, I didn't ask much, but it left me confused because I didn't know whether I'm going to work or I'm going for an interview. I don't know. But all in all, I just went. And luckily enough, they were calling me for the job. And I started immediately. Now that I'm in a new place, new job, the only friend I know ni mmoja. So I called my friend, told him what has happened, and he agreed that I kind of stay with him for a while, kabla nijipange. And that's what I did. But on that day, because this guy used to live a bit far, on that day, as I was taking a walk around town, I came across another friend. His name is Michael Wambui. So I came across him. He's a very good friend of mine. And after we met, we sat down and I told him my story, and he offered to help. And he made sure that that day, the same day, we went and he took me to another guy who comes from where I come from, back in the village. And it happened that this guy was living alone. So he decided to host me for some few days. And that's how I started my life in Mwea.
Okay.
A life that would have, I believe that is where everything started. Because I went on with my work. Everything went on smoothly. And all this time, I could even count the several times that I had taken alcohol. And to me, alcohol was not a problem.
Yeah.
But if I can take you back so that you connect this story, in class 7, that's when I tasted alcohol for real.
The first time.
And this is what happened. My father had brewed some alcohol, tunaita Moratina, and it was on Christmas Eve, on 24th. Now, if I can create a scenario of where I come from, during those days, Christmas used to be fun.
Yeah.
And actually, we found more fun on Christmas Eve rather than Christmas Day itself. And one of those things that we loved a lot is welcoming those people who are coming from Nairobi. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
And okay, we used to love what we see. Wanavaa nguo supu. Okay, unajua tu tofauti ya mtu wa Geshagi na
lazima una notice kwanza siku za Christmas wanatesa.
Yes. Then you can also agree with me that during that period, two things used to happen. Normally, circumcision usually takes place at that time, and at the same time, it's a festive season.
Yeah.
So we used. I like on my side, but let me talk about majority of us used to be influenced by what we see. And there was that lifestyle ya watu ambao wametoka Nairobi wanakuja, wenye tunaona wakistaga huko venye wamekunywa, and we used to see it. It was fun. And like in my mind, that's basically what Christmas was made
all
of.
about. Okay.
That was what. But now I never knew what one feels like when he takes alcohol. And then one day on that nikaona mahali mzee ameweka, and according to how we were brought up by our parents. They knew we were responsible children. So you wouldn't find like ati mzee ameificha sana. So I took advantage of that and nikaenda nikafungua nikaeka kwa kikombe nikakunywa and I felt that it was very sweet. Ni kama machungwa hivi imekakataa kiasi and I kind of liked it and kutoka hapo nje nikakaakaa nikasikia hapana, hiyo kitu acha nisikie tena. Nikarudi hapo nikaeka ingine kidogo. Now the problem is one, imeanza kupunguka pale. Lazima utaulizwa maswali. The other thing is sijui hii mtu kunywa kiasi gani. So I went back there and took the third one. And to cover all these nikaongeza maji. Now something happened and one, my sisters had already visited and one of my sisters, her name is Veronica, had to send me. He wanted me to take to go to the shop. Yes, I remember. She wanted me to go to the shop and so immediately when I got out, she called me and sent me. I went to the shop, came back. It was around the evening hours. And if there is one thing that I used to look forward to was the evening mass. So I couldn't, and remember I was an altar boy. So I couldn't even wait. And then there is this feeling, a very nice feeling that was coming from inside me. And I felt energetic and very talkative.
Of course.
And generally I felt good. So I couldn't even stay at home. So I went out, came together with my friends then, and we had to go and call another friend. Right now he's in Nairobi. Was with the last time I checked, he was working with the Nation Media. His name is Robert. And we had to go and call him. He was also a very good friend of mine. Now that's when things started happening. Because all of a sudden I noticed everything was going around. And I couldn't stand on my own. So all said and done, I went into a blackout. And when I came up to
at what age that time?
It was around 6 in the evening.
Age.
And I was it 15?
Okay.
So then the rest thing I remember nikiwa hapo kwetu kwa barabara, because I came to learn later that my friends walinichukua wakaniacha, wakanipeleka mpaka home, but they feared kuingia, so waliniacha hapo kwa barabara. So nili manage kuteremka, but of course kufika nyumbani my father already knew that I was drunk. One of my sisters kwanza nakumbukanga akinichapa na mwiko kuniuliza nimekunywa wapi, but that's all I can remember. But I was told to go to sleep, and came the following morning. Of course my father was so much concerned, and I couldn't get myself to tell him that ni yake niliiba. So nilimdanganya nilipewa na mzee mwingine hapo, and he was so furious to an extent. He said that he will go to confront
to meet the mzee now.
Yes. Okay, I felt that that would not be right, because one, that was not the truth. Two, I did something wrong because I lied. So eventually I gathered courage and I approached my father and I told him everything. So it's kind of, he understood, and of course we spoke about that. And again, I promised to do my best, and I'll never repeat that again.
No.
And indeed, I stuck to that.
And you never repeated again
And I never
until now
repeated
when you
again.
are in Mwea.
Yes, now let's go back to the story where now I'm in Mwea. Okay, as I was working in Mwea, and already now I'm staying in town, and after some several 1.5 months, I managed to get my own place. Then, luckily enough, 2 of the guys that we were with at Rongai came to Mwea. And there's a reason as to why they came to Mwea. They came to work because we still kept in touch. That's why that's how I got to influence them to come. And again, we created some friends, and still that idea that we had to form a group was still there. And that's how we managed to form a group, and we called ourselves Discovery Artists. And we started dealing with issues to do with HIV. And as we were doing that, that's how we were discovered by one of the field coordinators from USAID. At that time, USAID was funding a local NGO, ilikuwa inaitwa Afya Tu. That's how we were noticed by Afya Tu. And they came and they told us they would love to work with us because they were also dealing with issues to do with HIV and AIDS. So that's how we were given a contract by Afya Tu. And what we were supposed to do, first of all, they took us for trainings, several trainings, so that we get to know more on HIV. And again, they sent experts to us who would train us on acting. So in such a way that now when we go out there, we were to use acting to pass information. That's what we call edutainment. And I really loved doing that because 1, I loved acting. 2, I had interest in matters to do with HIV and AIDS. So we started working with them. Other partners came in. I remember there are others like Hope Worldwide. They joined. We were also joined by PSI, Population Services International. So I happened to go for so many trainings. And that's how I started training as a counselor, dealing with HIV and testing. And partly as a form of an exit program, there are other courses that I was trained by USAID. But again, I did a main course at KAPC, Kenya Association of Professional Counselors, issues to do with HIV, family planning, peer counseling. And kind of my work as a beautician started fading because HIV was taking the bigger part of my life now. I was involved in so many trainings, so many functions. I remember we went all over Kirinyaga County. So many people know me around that area. We used to act in towns, in churches, chiefs, barazas, name it, in schools.
Creating awareness.
Yes, creating that awareness, and everything was right on time because everything went so well. And eventually I came across a lady that I fell in love with just there in Mwea. And we got married.
Wow.
So to me, life was flowing. It was so nice. And let me say, basically everything looked good. So we went on. several contracts started coming in. Other NGOs came in, and University of Nairobi, I remember they had a program. Other NGOs came in. Okay, basically we had like a period of 5 to 6 years worth of contract. And that's how we went on up to around 2009. And some of the programs were terminated due to some reasons. Others were coming to an end. But of course, eventually they were to renew the contracts, but it always takes time. So basically I was lucky because I was also working at a hospital called Kibimbe Sub-District Hospital as a counselor. So let me say my life went on well. But when I was working at Kibimbe, I was not employed by the government. I was working under the NGOs. There was an NGO by then. It was called ICAP. So you can understand that I was working under contract, and a contract usually comes to an end. So I remember year 2010, my wife became pregnant, and we were blessed with a child, a girl, and now life changed. Now I'm a father, something that I welcomed. And within around after around 3 months, after our daughter was born, we discovered that she had an issue that needed the help of a pediatric neurosurgeon, and we had to organize for a fundraiser, because the challenge, the problem was demanding a lot of money. So we organized a fundraiser, and we managed to get the money, and she was treated. She is perfect now. She's okay. But the other problem that arose during that year and 2011 and maybe the beginning of 2012, kind of kazi ikakosekana sana. So sasa ikakuwa like you really have to like hustle. And mind you, at that time we were working in the same place with my wife. By then. So it's kind of sasa ni kuhustle, which of course I didn't have a problem with that, because basically one is supposed to hustle. Na mambo ikikuwa ngumu mtu hafai kukaa hivyo. So jobs zilikuwa zinatokea hapa na pale, but I couldn't say that tunapata kuna mahali nilikuwa na permanent job. So that's how an opportunity came, and through friends that I had, I got a chance of a vacancy outside Kenya. But the challenge that was there, the vacancy, the wale ambao hao wenye hiyo kazi, they needed a lady. And according to the qualifications that they were asking for, my wife,
Your wife had the qualifications.
Had the qualifications.
Okay.
So basically we happened to sit down and talk about it. And you can agree with me, it was a bit challenging, because I couldn't like come up with a decision immediately. So I had to think it over. And deep in me, I believe I can describe myself as an open-minded person. And I sat down, and at the end of the day, I agreed, but of course, we had to sit down and come up with a plan. because one, the contract was supposed to take 2 years. Two, we had to consider the fact that we have a child.
Yeah.
Now 2 years old, because if all went well, she was supposed to go by 2012, around 2012. So by then, the child would be 2 years. So those were some of the things that we had to consider. And luckily enough, where she comes from is just near town, near Gurubani town. So her parents lived nearby. And I felt that it was better if I would have taken advantage of that. Because back here, I had to go to work. So instead of maybe looking for a house girl, it would have been easier for this child to take the baby to her mom.
Okay.
Then it will be easier for me to go and visit. And maybe provide whatever that she needs. And we saw it as a good plan, and that is what we did. And 2012 February,
she left. Okay.
And I was determined, and I didn't have a problem with that. I trusted her, and as much as she could trust me, and we didn't have a problem with that. Deep inside, I knew I will be okay for those 2 years. And believe you me, we never saw it as a problem or as a challenge, because at least we were able to talk every single day. By that time, WhatsApp was working. Of course, there were other ways of calling. We could communicate a lot. And again, wherever she went, she was staying with her sister. So life went on well, and things looked up. And the first year came and went. Everything went on well. The second year came, and towards the second year, towards now the end of the contract, I don't know what happened, but she saw it okay to continue with the contract.
That's what she renewed.
So she renewed.
Okay.
The contract. Okay, at first I thought that first of all she would get a chance to maybe visit. Somehow now, okay, right now I understand better, but by then I couldn't feel like I didn't know how to talk about that. I didn't we never discussed that. So the okay that I said was not from
shingo upande.
Yeah. And somehow, okay, it was okay, but niyo ya shingo upande. But now as days went by, it's now the reality now started sinking in. So I don't know what we can call that shock, but you can imagine now reality of okay, miaka ingine mbili. And of course there are these thoughts zenye sasa zita surround that.
Yeah.
Now what about my family, you see? Maybe when now you maybe wakati mnaongea na watu wengine hapo, of course there are those zenye wako wanajali about your well-being as a family. So naanza kusikia wengine the comments zimeanza saa kukuweka doubt.
Yeah.
Now ikakuwa, at first I was very much okay. I would get from work, if kama nilikuwa nimeenda kazi, I'll get back home. Actually me hata kutokea mtaani unless on Saturday. On Sunday I would go to church, come back home. I would spend my time with my daughter. and all that.
Okay.
Now it came to a point whereby sasa ukiingia kwa nyumba naanza kufikiria sana, and sometimes usingizi inapotea, sometimes naona yani now the house became uncomfortable. And that's when I developed a habit of when I get out of work, I had friends. So napitia kwa mabete, either ako mahali job ama hata yeye na amefunga, so we could like meet, kuongea mambo mbili tatu hapo. Time inapita, so unajipata ulikuwa unaingia, I used to go back home at around 5. Sasa unapitisha masaa hapo hivyo mpaka kitu saa 1, saa 2 hapo. And kawaida as men ni ngumu sana upata wanaume wamepatana kwa hoteli. It's a bit okay. At that time I would have felt as if it's a bit weird. So eventually naenda mnapumzika mahali, and at that time hata nikiitisha kitu singepitisha 2. And of course I used to take beer, singepitisha 2, just like hata even when my wife was around. Very rarely ningeenda nyumbani nikiwa nimelewa, labda hata nimwambie ni venye tu nimepita place fulani, nimeongea na fulani, tumekunywa moja, that was okay by then. So that's how it started. Nikaanza kurealize kumbe mtu akichapa 2 ukienda kwa nyumba hata ufikirii sana,
ni kulala tu,
nikausingizi tu kanakuja kamekuinua. So it's kind of now kama nikapata solution. When I feel okay, nimechoka, alafu venye tu nimechoka, when I go to bed usingizi haikuji, so the following morning unaamka tu umechoka hata zaidi. It's kind of hata sasa kuenda kazini ni kama kujikokota. So I discovered a way out, and that's how I developed this idea of nikitoka kwenye nimetoka, ama even if I was around town in the evening, naenda unapatana na wale mabeste 2 chini 2-3, then unaenda kulala. So of course along that process there are several things that happened. 1, 2-3 zikakuwa 4-5.
Okay.
And wakati zinaongezeka hivyo, of course even the time that you're spending in the pub na ikaongezeka, so ikaanza kukua 2-3. Wakati zinaongezeka ile kuingia saa 1 sasa inaanza kukua ni saa 3, saa 4, saa 5 hapo, around that time. And in the place that I was in, I discovered something else, that on weekends there are some places that people go to dance their troubles away.
Okay.
So I discovered there are pubs that have dance halls. And even when these small businesses close, those places never close, and you can dance all your troubles away, all your stress, and you have a whole day maybe on Saturday to sleep. So that's how I developed the idea of going for a night. It became a trend, and to me it wasn't a problem because I could always manage whatever I was drinking. And even waking up wasn't a problem. But now,
are you still now in communication with
we are in communication, but I'm not talking about the things, how things are changing back here.
You have not shared with her the kind of thoughts, stress coming up?
Now that I had the fact that I got a solution, now I'm not like stressed anymore. I capped the whole thing, nikaifunikia.
Okay.
and I pushed it at the back of my mind, thinking that now that is solved.
Ukaamua sasa the friend is alcohol.
Yes,
na
now
those dance
one of my closest friends became alcohol, because whenever I would miss her, whenever I would feel like something wasn't right about the decision that she made, rather than talking about it, I looked for other ways. So during that time, that's when now I continued with my, and mostly I used to I used to drink on weekends, but now it had gone to an extent whereby it's every evening. And of course, the number of the amount of alcohol that I'm consuming now, ina increase to pole pole, to an extent now I could even spend. I started missing those days when maybe I will not be working, then I would spend my time drinking. Nikaanza kuona sasa imeanza kunifanya hata nikiwa kazini, sasa nasikia kazi ikinichosha, and I feel like I should stop what I'm doing, call my friend, and we go and drink. Of course, now that developed to even weekdays. Sasa unapata unafika nyumbani saa 9, maybe 5 in the morning, and unafika mpaka saa asubuhi, sasa unanuka pombe, you're still drunk. That developed to the urge of sasa kutaka kukunywa asubuhi, and to some extent sasa kushikanisha, like on Friday asubuhi nawapata kwa pub naendelea. Maybe to some, around kitu saa 7 huko mchana, you go sleep. By the time you wake up, it's around 11 at night. You feel off, somehow guilty, because this is not you. I could feel that this is not me, but right now this what I know best. Kind of ni kama natafuta, ni kama napata, ni kama nasikia nikiwa nimetosheka hivyo. Sifikirii sana and all that. Now to an extent sasa umelala umejisikia saa 5 usiku, you just take a shower and go out, because these pubs are open.
Your body is used now to alcohol.
Your body is used to alcohol. So na ukienda huko sasa, now that's up to the morning hours, and maybe you are supposed to go to work. Now, as I sank deeper into this, and in the back of my mind, okay, to some extent I could feel guilty, but I never saw it as a problem. That's it was a way of living. So it went to an extent that most of my days itakuwa ngumu sana nikuwe sina alcohol in my system. So it went to an extent whereby I couldn't stay without alcohol in my system. And now something else was happening. Somehow, to a person that you love and you talk to most of the time, that person would not go for long without noticing some changes. Because maybe this person is used to call you at this time, and she will always know where you are. So it's kind of, sasa anaanza kuona kuna mambo ina change. I'm used to calling this time, and huyu mtu anakuanga kwa nyumba, definitely I know ako kwa nyumba, lakini these days ako mahali kuna kelele. You cannot hide the background noise. And as much as you would lie, there's a difference between a noise that is in a bus stop and a noise that is in a pub. So it's kind of, she started noticing that I'm in a pub.
Okay.
But initially it never clicked as if that was a problem. Because she knows that maybe I used to go to pubs once in a while. So that was not surprising. And now it came to a point whereby I don't want her to know that today I'm in a pub. Tomorrow I'll be in a pub. So sometimes I could avoid receiving the calls.
Okay.
Because that was one of the solutions. Again, now the things that I was, those things that I was keeping to myself, sasa nikaanza kujipata sasa zinatoka when I'm drunk. Sasa naanza kuzifikiria. Now, what now I would call the reality of the issue. Sasa ilianza kunihit that feeling of you want to talk about this. Now it's high time I talk about this. Ilinihit when using alcohol now. So it's like wakati sasa when I'm drunk, sasa ina manifest itself properly. And maybe sometimes I would get myself writing texts and maybe calling. Sasa hapo tukaanza some kind of arguments. And you can agree with me, at that time it was not easy to like call whenever you feel like. Because calling was a bit challenging at that time. Not so many phones would have a proper working WhatsApp. Then the normal calls were very expensive. So it's like whenever you call, you had to like know what you're talking about.
Yeah, be simple and clear.
Simple and clear. So sometimes you can now understand that most of our discussions were left like unconcluded. And that always used to get into me. I'm not kind of a person whereby once if something comes up and we decide to talk about it, mi ni yule mtu ambaye huwa napenda kuongea up to the last point. Like discuss it through until we come up with a solution.
Yeah.
So these issues that were unfinished now started getting into me. So there is that agitation. Now that stress. Then when you go back to the house, you are alone. Now the house started haunting me. So I could always find comfort among my friends by then, because those were the closest people to me. And mind you, all this time I used to talk to my sisters and my brothers,
but they didn't know what you were going through.
I'm very good at keeping to myself. So whenever one of them would call, I would always tell them I'm very much okay, we are doing okay. And because they knew the kind of a person that I am, and that is the image they had in mind, so they took that as the gospel truth. But deep inside I was collapsing. And now it got to a point whereby kind of there are these feelings that usually come in, those feelings like you're feeling sorry for yourself. And now to avoid all these feelings, now I used to like spend time in pubs.
Most of
my free time
is in the
but bar. I had to juggle everything, because on one hand I'm working, because I would partly go for work at Kimbembe. Then I had another program that had come up from Nairobi University. They had been funded by the University of Maryland. Now hiyo sasa program ndio sasa ilikuja kubadilisha like everything, because the program was dealing, at that time we used to call them MAPs, most at risk persons. These days we usually call them key population, and we used to like test them, give counseling services. We used to treat the STIs in case they had any those challenges. And now, according to how the program was supposed to work, they were the organizers were arguing that if you put up a mobile visitor somewhere, either during the day, most of the people who will walk in that visitor will be people who are confident enough that they are HIV negative. But what about these other people, the most at risk persons? Majority of them wouldn't want to come to such a place because, one, they fear what other people will say. Others, maybe they don't even have time because umeweka visit mchana, yeye analanga mchana kwa sababu usiku ndio ako busy. Someone like a commercial sex worker. We are talking of long truck drivers, intravenous drug users, people like prisoners. So we had to take the services to their places, to where they work. Because one of the excuses that they used to have was like sikwangi na time. So you can imagine if it is if mostly we used to deal with the commercial sex workers. So we would take the services to motels and big restaurants. So we would spend the night there, set up a camp. Of course they were well organized. Kulikuwa na mtu ambaye anawa organize vizuri sana. They used to go for social groups, wanaeducatiwa and all that. Then hapo kwa hiyo camp they were coming for tests and all that. Others were coming for condoms and all that. So others were coming for family planning services. So we had to like set up a camp, and it was during the night. And mostly we used to focus on those days that we knew tutapata watu wengi, and that would go for weekends. Now I had another solution. Now I don't have a problem of sleeping at night because I'll be very busy from around 6 to around 12 midnight. Then we would be taken back to our various homes. But I never used to go home. I would be dropped at town, and I would enter into a pub. Now to me, I was at work. So believe you me, it's around 12 in the morning. Yes, midnight. So kwangu ni kama sasa 6 jioni. So by the time nisikie sasa niko sawa, it would be around 5 in the morning. That's when I'll go back home, sleep, wake up at around 1, take a shower, rest a bit, narudi tena kwa pub kidogo. 6 inafika, you go to work. Because I had to like, deep inside me, if you would have looked at me, you wouldn't have said that I have a problem with drinking. I used to cover that up because, one, I was worried about what people will think about me. Then at the back of my mind, there's that voice that keeps on telling you that you are not this kind of a person.
You are not on the right track.
You are not on the right track. But somehow there's this other urge that yenye sasa kind of, it's almost taking center stage. So I used to like, most of the people never knew I had a problem actually.
Actually, that is the bigger problem now.
Yes,
Because we're struggling with an issue
and I
alone.
liked it that way because you see this thing of what will people say about me when they get to learn these, you see, then that fear. I basically I just kept quiet, covered everything. That's why even when my sisters and my brothers, when they call, I would tell them I'm okay, and life went on. But this time now it got worse because most of the mornings I'm always drunk. I will sleep, and the sleeping hours will not be enough. Now we are having communication problems because sometimes I don't call.
You don't pick.
I don't pick. And I don't know. We've never been able, up to now, we've never been able to discuss these. But